What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This is episode number 497. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the line, actually, you're not even on the line at all, although there is a line between us, on my bed. Actually, what are you doing on my bed? You should have been on
your bed.
No,
there's two beds.
That's where I keep my stuff.
Well, I would sleep on the other one now if I were you.
It's Luis Scott-Vargas. So, Luis and I are in Las Vegas for the Mythic Championship 3. Didn't go so well for you.
No, we were going to record yesterday, but I decided to spare the viewers excessive salt intake because I was pretty unhappy after going 2 and 4.
Yeah, that was a tough day one. And you also, the way that your matchups played out, you ended up kind of just getting the run of mirrors.
I played 5 Esper mirrors, which is like not the most thrilling matchup.
No, definitely not.
But
you're feeling better today?
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Time heals most wounds.
Most wounds, yeah. And that means that we're going to record the show now, and let's get this thing going. So first things first. Oh, I should mention it. We're going to talk about modern horizons and archetypes that we've liked, as well as go over our preview cards for M20, of which Wizards was very kind. They gave us 10. So we actually have like a little bit of information to work with here about what might be coming up for M20. And also, how in the world are we already talking about M20?
I haven't finished my Modern Horizons reviews yet.
It's incredible. Anyway, but we're going to jump right in because, hey, you know, the train keeps rolling. The show is brought to you by ChannelFireball.com. That's the place to go for all things Magic related on the internet. Anything you need, they're going to have it at Channel Fireball. And kind of cool, Luis. You told me a while ago about the CFB newsletter. And then there was the Commander version of the newsletter, and now there's going to be another one.
Yeah, we've enlisted none other than Matt Nass, who'll be writing our modern newsletter every week. I really enjoy the newsletters. Like, I get them too. Mm-hmm. And part of it is...
I read every one, top to bottom. Yeah.
Part of it is that they are kind of like a bite-sized bit of content that you just get delivered to you every week. And, we pick something fun and whimsical to write about. So I think Matt's going to do a great job. I have the first newsletter copy ready, and I think he's picked a very cool deck. So if you go to channelfireball.com/newsletter, you can sign up for any and all of those newsletters. You might not be able to sign up for the modern run quite yet, depending on when the show ends up going up, but it'll be up there pretty soon.
Okay. And do you get any deals, or do you get any sweet little stuff in there?
We put some deals in there. We've got we always have something cool to talk about. So
awesome. So channelfireball.com/newsletter to check that out. Of course, you can support the show directly via the Patreon. Luis is moving right onto the Crack-A-Pack. Patreon.com/limited resources for more information there. We've got 2 Crack-A-Packs here. Which one are you going to do first, Luis?
I'm going to start with the Warless Spark one.
Who's it from?
Oh, I couldn't even see. This is from Colin Graves.
Thank you, Colin. I actually got to go to a real live GP last weekend. Doing
GPDC?
Yeah, doing GPDC coverage for Channel Fireball. And I got to meet some of our listeners. I got to tell you, Luis, it felt weird because the events that we've been doing lately have been like closed studio, MPL stuff like that. I actually had a chance to see people. I was like, I missed this. I did it every weekend or every other weekend for 5 years, and it was cool. All right, what's in our pack?
Speaking of that, GP Dallas coverage is actually coming up soon too.
Yeah, I think I'll do that.
Yeah, nice. All right,
I will be there.
So tune into.
That's modern, right?
I believe so.
I think it's modern.
Twitch.tv/Channel Fireball. You can see some coverage there. All right, we've got a Goblin Assault team, which I found to be fine, but not great. Not really where I want to start.
Is that the 4/1?
That's the 4/1 Haster.
Yeah, no.
Ironclad Crowvad, 4 mana, 2/5. Nope. Spellkeeper Weird. This is a blue one. 2 and a blue for a 1/4. You can pay 2 and sack it to get a spell back.
It's playable.
Playable. Probably our pick right now, but not exciting. Tithe Bearer Giant, another decent one. 6 mana, 4/5, draw a card, lose a life. Mm-hmm. I like Spellkeeper Weird early over this.
Same. Just a 6-drop. I'm not picking this early.
Vivian's Grizzly, 3 mana, 2/3. You can pay 4 to look at the top card in your library, draw it if it's a creature or planeswalker.
Overrated but playable?
Yeah, I don't like it very much. Oh, here we go. Jaya's Greeting.
Bingo.
Lightning Strike, Scry 1. Can't hit players, though.
Yeah. This is what this format's about, is which of these removal spells do you open, and then, of course, a good uncommon or rare will.
Totally Lost, which is a playable, but not as good as Jaya's Greeting. We're not going to really find a common.
Is there any common that's better than Jaya's Greeting?
I mean, Obnixilus' Cruelty is close.
Yeah.
Centaur Nurture, 4 mana, 2/4, gain 3. Iron Bully, the 3 mana, 1/1 menace. Erratic Visionary, the Looter. But yeah, none of these commons really can stack up
not
with
even
Jaya's
close,
Greeting.
yeah.
All right, for uncommons, we have Jace's Triumph, Divination. Not quite as good as Giant's Greeting.
No, I like that card more than I thought I would.
Yeah, Card Advantage is good in this format. Spells and the spells deck is quite good. Emergent Zone is another uncommon. It's a land that you can sack to make your spells have flash, but not good. Ooh, Samut Tyrant Smasher is our Planeswalker. This is the 2 and 2 red-green hybrid for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. All your creatures have haste, and you can -1 to give a creature +2/+1 and scry 1.
Yeah, kind of an interesting twist on that one because it is just -1. We're used to this like 5 -2 -2. Maybe
Yeah, you get a lot of shots, but like Samut is really only good when you're beating down.
That's right, and we don't tend to favor cards like that. Plus, it's not nearly as good as Giant's Greeting.
No, not at all. Even though it's hybrid. Yeah. And then the rare is Niv Mizzet Reborn, the 5-color 6/6 flyer, which you can play this if you're really daring. But yeah, this is an easy Giant's Greeting. I don't think it's even close to being close. Like Giant's Greeting is by far the best.
And I'll take that that card home and put it in with giveaway cards for this. Yes, you can throw the rest. Wait, you threw the Mizzet on the ground.
He's fine.
And and also, it was really nice. One of our listeners, Krishna, came up and had a chat with him. He gave us a pile of rares that he got at the Luis at the GP. And
I'm rambunctious today.
Yeah, you are. And he donated them. They're gonna go right into the pile, and whoever wins it next week will get those.
Sweet.
Too. All right, what are you opening now? And who is it from? My God.
This doesn't have a name on it.
What, really?
Yeah.
Give me that thing. Of course it does.
Nope.
Where did I get a pack of, what is it, Modern Horizons?
Yep. There's not even close to being a name on it.
Give me this thing. I'll find it.
All right, you can find it. There's an Ayula Queen of Bears on the cover.
Yeah, there is that. There is not a name on this. Somebody gave this to me. All right, well, whatever.
LSV, I think.
Okay. Thank you for the donation.
Goat Nap is a first source. This is the Threaten. And if it's a goat, it gets +3/+0.
Which does happen somewhat
with
frequently.
The changelings, yes. No, we're not taking that, though. Our String of Disappearances. This is the blue instant return a creature, and you can pay... That creature's controller can pay blue to copy it.
Yeah.
This card's fine.
It's totally fine. It's funny because it does have text in some decks that's more like return one creature you control to your hand and one creature they control for blue.
But nothing I really want to start with.
Right.
Martyr's Soul is next. This is the 2 and a white 3/2 Convoke. And if you have no tapped lands, it gets +2/+2.
This card feels a little overplayed to me. It just seems to make its way into a lot of decks, but it's not great.
No, I've been unimpressed with the Martyr's Soul.
I mean, it's so often just a 3/2. That is woefully underpowered for this format.
Yeah. Fists of Flame is next. 1 and a red instant. Draw a card and give a creature a +1/+0 and trample. Or +1/+0 for each card you've drawn this turn and then trample.
Yeah, this is the type of card that can absolutely steal a game, right? This is the one in the blue-red deck where
you like cycle and play 2 Fists of Flame for +2 then +3, or sorry, +3 then +4.
And all of a sudden they're just dead. Of course, the best possible target is the 2/3 that gets double strike whenever you draw the second card for a turn. That is a combo. Trample, double strike, is really nasty. You don't need to pick this though.
No, I really don't want to first pick Fist of Flame. I don't want to first pick Ward Eye Witch either. This is a 2 and a black 3/2, and whenever it or another creature you control dies, scry 1.
Playable, but no.
Yep. Treetop Ambusher, 1 and a green 2/1, and it has dash, so you can play it hasty and then it bounces in a turn.
I think I undervalued this a little bit. I still don't pick it highly, but every time somebody's played it, they've been able to do something with it that was more impressive than I thought.
Whenever it attacks, it gives a creature you control +1. It could be itself.
Is it fine? Am I undervaluing it?
I don't like it that much. I think it's fine in an aggressive deck, but like... I haven't found it to be that impressive.
Yeah, I think that the reason it's in there is for the creature fall deck, the green-white deck, where you can just repeatedly do this over and over. I don't know, maybe not worth it.
Ooh, Winter's Rest. It's a snow enchantment, 1 and a blue. Enchant a creature. When it enters the battlefield, tap the creature, and then it doesn't untap if you have any other snow permanents. I like this card.
Yeah, it basically reads like Claustrophobia.
This is my pick right now. I find that snow is a fairly easy deck to get into.
I agree. Also, it's easy to see. Like, to me, this is like the entry-level archetype for the format, but it's also really powerful. So it's kind of got this good thing where it's like, if you're in snow, when you start taking the lands, and especially if you start taking them really early, that other people don't.
I find it, snow to largely be blue-green.
Yes.
And then you splash potentially all 3 of the other colors, depending on what snow
almost never blue. I think I've played against blue-green, but never have had only blue-green for myself.
Right. I mean, you're blue-green splashing like on thin ice or, Dead of Winter if you're really lucky, that sort of thing. Yeah,
those are great, but you can also just splash cards, right? Yeah. You can splash Settle Beyond Reality or whatever.
Sure. Universal Automaton, the 1 mana 1/1 changeling, no. Ooh, I like this one more than Winter's Rest. Trumpeting Herd. 2 green, make a 3/3 elephant, rebound, source of sorcery.
Underrated. Like
I'm actually surprised it's underrated because it's just so obviously good on its face.
Yes.
It's 4 mana for 2 3/3s.
Right. The first time you play it, you're like, oh, this is probably fine. And then it's like, it rebounds and you're like, what? Like,
I really like the card. I think it's great.
I've either stabilized or I'm way ahead on board. It's just fantastic. Yeah, that card's really good.
Dregscape Slivers, first uncommon. 2 mana, 2/2 sliver, one and a black for a 2/2. Each sliver creature in your graveyard has unearth. Honestly, I don't really like slivers all that much. I find that Boros slivers with a bunch of changelings can be fine, and I've played against it a decent amount.
Yeah.
The 5-color sliver deck has seemed really bad to me.
And that's the problem is that's the only sliver in black, right? I think
there's like a random gold slivers, right?
Yeah, there are, but like this is not a color that like what you want in the sliver stack is you want the first strike sliver and the +2/+0 sliver, so that you can create untenable combat for your opponent, and then maybe some rares. But like, where does this slot in?
No, it really
it's
doesn't.
A powerful effect if you can make it work, but.
Llanowar Tribes are next uncommon. 3 Llanowar Elves. Green, 3/3 tap for 3 green.
That is cute. And it also spawned quite a bunch of memes. If you've seen this, people have just been chain whirlers,
I mean, I like the card, but I would not take it over trumpeting.
So I haven't actually played with it yet. I just found that triple green is like always so committal.
I had one deck where I liked it, where I had like 11 green sources. And it was fine because once you have it in play, it taps for 3 mana. That's a lot of mana.
That is a lot, yeah. You need something to spend it on. It's not a snow or anything, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Saddled Rhymestag is next. I do like 1 and a green for a 2/2 Snow Elk. So
Snow
the fact
Elmer.
that snow is good. And it has +2/+2 as long as another creature in the battlefield under your control, which notably is not the same as it gets +2/+2 each time that happens. It's just checks, and if it has happened, it's a 4/4.
That's right. But still, it ends up bashing as a 4/4 so often for the first 3 to 4 turns it's on the battlefield. I like that card a lot.
I do too. I think I like Trumpeting Herd more, but it's pretty close.
I have to think about it.
It might be better just to take a 2-drop.
Yeah, the fact that it's snow itself as well really does help.
Yeah, you should just start with the Rhymestag. It's a snow. The fact that it's snow just gives you tons of little bits of value.
Yeah.
Nether Spirit's the rare. 1 black, 2/2. Beginning your upkeep, if it's the only creature in your graveyard, you can return it to the battlefield. More of a constructed card than a limited card. It has spawned some really good
Is that a throwback to, wasn't there a card that like if it's the top creature of your graveyard?
The one in Alpha is Nether Shadow.
Yeah, is that what I'm thinking of?
If there's 3 creatures above it in your graveyard, it comes back.
So it gets buried deep enough, then it loops back over?
Nether Spirit's kind of the opposite, where if it's the only creature, it comes back. This was a part of some very good constructed decks, where it was the only creature in your deck. And you either discarded it or just played it and had it die.
Oh, this is a reprint.
It's a reprint.
Oh, okay. So maybe I'm actually thinking of that card.
It was a deck with Yoko Hops, 4 red, destroy everything but enchantments.
Yeah.
Including lands. And so you just had Nether Hops where you just have 1 or 2 of these, you kill everything, and then these come back and kill them.
And then they're still
ideally you have 1 of these, not 2 of these, actually.
Oh, yeah, good point.
But no, not a great card in limited because you just can't play 1 creature in your deck. The second... no, I guess this is, second rare. It's foil.
Oh, we got a foil rare?
Cabal Therapist, black for a 1/1 menace. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you can sack a creature. And if you do, name a card, reveal your opponent's hand, discard all cards of that name. Not good and limited.
No, that is way too steep of a cost of it. Because like the real way it plays out is you sack a creature, you name some random card, they show you their hand, now you know what's in their hand, and then on the next upkeep, you sacrifice another creature to take away their card. Yeah. That is a steep cost, and you're already playing a 1/1 for 1. I will say that thing, while not a changeling, does a pretty good impersonation of the unblockable changeling. And that thing can block. You can ninja it.
If you're blue-black ninjas, I think this card is playable, but it's so much worse than either Fairies here or the Changeling Outcast.
Yeah, the Outcast is just better anyway, right? Yes, because of the blue-black ninjutsu guy that lets you hit with ninjas and draw cards.
Yep, that counts all ninjas. Then there's a snow-covered island, but... Yeah, I think I'd actually, at the end of the day, just take the Saddle Rhymestag.
Yeah, I like that card. I think that's the card I would take for sure. Okay, should we take a look at our preview cards?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Wizards, like I mentioned before, was very kind, and they gave us 10 preview cards. Oh, you got your phone in your hand. I see what you're doing.
To be fair...
you're sitting right in front of me, right? Oh, you're looking up the cards? Okay, all right.
See, look... you've got your computer open and you're looking at it.
You set me up for this so bad. It's so brutal. I look away for half a second and he's on his phone, and then he shows me a screen, his screen, which he's looking up the cards that we previewed. But I don't know if I'm buying that. You're a multitasker. All right, let's get into these, though. We'll just kind of give a quick chat on each of them. I don't think we need to go super deep because we'll be doing the set review for this sooner than later. First one is Aerial Assault 2 and a white for a sorcery. Oh, by the way, all of our cards are common. And it says, destroy target tapped creature. That's fine, right? Stop. Put down your phone. I'm reading these cards to you. Let me see the screen. Oh, damn,
I'm pulling up the Modern Horizons spoilers so that when we talk about Modern Horizons archetypes, I make sure that I have everything right.
All right, so I'm 0 for 2 on calling you out. So Area Assault, destroy target tap creature for 2 and a white sorcery speed. You also gain life for each creature you control with flying, which by the way comes up in another card that we have. Apparently they're pushing the blue-white skies deck. It's like, if you've never drafted before, it's like they really want you to know that blue-white skies.
This card is okay, but it doesn't seem great.
It's mediocre.
Yeah, like
sorcery's brutal.
Destroying a tap creature is just not that great.
No, they've already hit
because you already just took a hit off of it.
Right, and again, being instant that you can get away with that next snap style cards, but this is not that. Next one is whatever. This is probably going to go into.
Is there a through line with all these cards, or just 10 random cards?
The idea,
or are they all archetype defining cards?
Yeah, so the cards individually aren't, but when you pair them with some of the other cards we have, like here, I'll just skip to Winged Words. So this is going to give us the blue-white pairing.
This is the 2 and a blue, draw 2 cards, but if you have a flying creature, it costs 1 less.
Yeah, that's right. Strictly Better Divination. Are you sad? Divination's now been replaced.
It's okay.
This is Strictly Better.
I'll enjoy playing this card.
Okay. Yeah. So you get it cheaper if you're playing the Skies deck, and man, that actually matters a lot, right?
It does. And the thing is, Divination was already pretty good.
Yeah, especially in core set, it's often quite good.
Tend to be playable.
So. But again, both of these two cards, the blue and the white that we've read here, care about having creatures with flying. So we can see where this is going. Let's take a look at Boneclad Necromancer. This is 3 black for a 3/3. Womp. It's a human wizard, but when it enters the battlefield, you may exile target creature card from a graveyard. If you do, you get a 2/2 zombie token.
So this is 5 mana for a 3/3 and a 2/2 with the precondition that there has to be a creature in the graveyard. Plus, I mean, it has minor amounts of graveyard hate, I suppose, if your opponent cares about that.
But I'll tell you, that is good, right?
Yeah, that's totally solid.
If you always got the 2/2, that's solid. Yeah. 5/5 worth of stats in black, especially over 2 creatures, is
also
really stabilizing.
Good with bounce if you bounce this guy. Good if you get it back from the graveyard.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Also at 5 mana, it's pretty likely you're going to have something to eat.
Yeah, especially if you have it in your hand, you can set that up, right? Yeah. Make an attack that they're going to trade or whatever. Next one is a reprint, Frostlinks. Boy, we got Mana War.
Little frosty boy.
Little frosty cat. We got Mana War in Modern Horizons, and now Frostlinks, which was, kind of a adjusted Mana War. It's 2 and a blue for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, it freezes. Is that our shorthand now? Tap target creature. An opponent controls, and then that creature doesn't untap during its next untap step.
Frostlinks was always good in the aggressive decks, and this is the kind of card that also fit nicely into the Skies deck.
Yeah, it's interesting because even though Mana War plays out much better on average than it, there are select times when Frostlinks is better.
I mean, late enough in the game, this locks down a blocker for 2 turns. Mana War would only do it for 1 turn.
Exactly. So, yeah, Frostlinks is great. Also, we can see some cross synergies here. That's the type of card that you can use even in a Flyers deck to just hold down the ground, chump block, or keep something, trade off, or keep something locked down. Goblin Smuggler is our first red card. It's 2 and a red for a Goblin Rogue. It's a 2/2 with haste, and it has a tap ability. Tap, and then another target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn.
This card's very good. It's funny because this text has been around since Alpha. Dwarven Warriors was 2 and a red for a 1/1 with this ability. Mm-hmm. And usually the cards with this ability aren't particularly high rate. Goblin Tunneler was 2 mana 1/1 with the same ability, Mm-hmm. But at 3 mana 2/2 haste, all of a sudden this can attack on an empty board right away, and you can use the ability right away. So I think that actually combines to make this a pretty solid card. And
I do too.
I can see this doing the last 6 damage pretty easily.
I can too. This is the type of card that when you've stabilized, you don't want to see, because it requires another removal spell, and it often happens right away. And then on top of it, we'll want to keep our eye out for creatures that have power 2 or less, but that it doesn't stay that way. Particularly cards with pump abilities or even pump spells.
Well, that's why Dwarven Warriors explains on the card that the creature's power can be increased later.
Does it say that? Oh, I love that. I love explainer text. It's so clunky, but it makes me happy. Lavakin Brawlers, the next one, it's 3 and a red for a 2/4 elemental warrior. key text here, I haven't even read what it does yet, but it's an elemental, and that is a strong sub-theme in M20.
Also, this works nicely with the Goblin.
Oh, yeah, it does. It says whenever Lavacan Brawler attacks, it gets +1/+0 until in a turn for each elemental you control.
So it already attacks as a 3/4 because it counts itself. You make it unblockable, attack for 4 or 5. Bam.
Yeah, that's really, really quick clock. And that's actually a really neat setup, too, because normally when you think of these red attack decks, they're aggressive, they're getting in there. This is a type that you can kind of set up a board. It's 2/4, it blocks well. And then when you get two other elementals, you can employ that plan. Green card. Leafkin Druid. 1 and a green for a 0/3 elemental druid. So again, you have to pay attention because elementals are a sub-theme throughout the course of the set. Taps to add green, but if you control 4 or more creatures, so 3 other creatures besides it, it adds GG.
Yeah, it's nice because you would, in almost any green limited deck, play 1 and a green 0/3 that taps for a green. It's a Druid of the Cowl that's always 0/3 instead of a 1/3, but its primary purpose is the same.
Yeah.
And then sometimes in the middle or late game, this taps for 2 mana, and that's pretty relevant.
That is. And again, it is an elemental as well, so it fulfills that one. The next white card is called Squad Captain. It's 4 and a white for a 2/2. Oof. Human soldier with vigilance, but it enters a battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each other creature you control.
Yeah, I like this card too. It's just a good curve topper. If you can reliably have 3 other creatures in play, it's a good deal. With only 2 other creatures in play, so it's a 4/4, which isn't great.
Yeah, but that's still fine. 4/4 vigilance.
Basically, you want 1 or 2 of these per deck. You don't want a ton because they're clunky, and it's the sort of thing where you don't want too many payoffs, not enough enablers, but this does actually give you a pretty decent payoff.
Yeah, it does. And also, it has that really fun late game thing where it's like you top deck it and all of a sudden it's like a 9/9.
Yeah, it could just happen.
Yeah. And Vigilance is actually very relevant on huge creature bodies for, I guess, obvious reasons. It lets you attack and block with creatures that often can't be interacted with in combat profitably. Last card is Thicket Crasher. It's another elemental. This one's an elemental rhino. It's 3 and a green for a 4/3 with trample that gives your other elementals trample.
Yeah, this is fine. I'm not as excited about this because 4 mana 4/3 trample's fine. It's acceptable.
Playable 4-drop.
But giving other things trample has not tended to be that exciting.
This is a good card to pair with combat tricks. The 3 toughness entices your opponent to block, and the trample lets you get additional
elemental
value.
brawler, the 2/4 red one, because it'll attack as a 5/4 sometimes and have trample. And,
sure. Yeah, that's true. Although I'm never planning on having it be blocked because of Goblin Smuggler, because you got me on that plan. Well, that's our cards. Some of the things to take away. Core set usually keeps it pretty close to the vest as far as design language goes.
Did you do that black card, that second one right there?
Blood Burglar?
Yeah, I don't think we did that one.
Oh, you're right.
Is that the lifelink on your turn?
Yes, it is. Wow, good eye, by the way. Blood Burglar, 1 and a black for a 2/2 Vampire Rogue, and as long as it's your turn, it has lifelink.
2 mana 2/2 lifelink's great.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's aggressive lifelink only.
Okay, that's what it is.
Means that basically it incentivizes attacking rather than blocking, which seems fine. I mean, I think you'd almost always play this card.
The only time that's it's funny because that's when it matters the most anyway, right? They never attack a 1/1 into your 2/2 lifelinker anyway.
Sometimes you chump and gain 2 life.
Yeah. You're missing out on that. That's not a big loss.
Yeah,
Lifelink is
this
much
card's
more
still quite good.
Yeah, a borderline.
And you tried to scam the people out of it.
I did. I'm glad you noticed that because there was 2 cards from each color, and that would have really I see you typing. Oh God, you're good. You probably just got some app that looks like Scryfall, and it just has all your contacts.
So
basically,
I'm not going to name names here, but I do know a
call out's happening.
A person who used to, basically there's a Reddit plugin you can get, an extension that makes Reddit look like Excel. And I
did not know
that.
And
it turns into all text.
So when your boss walks by,
it looks like you're in Excel.
Just working on this real deep spreadsheet, boss. Keep on jamming. Wow. You're not going to call him out, are you?
Who said it was him?
I said call M out. Like them.
I see you trying to bait me here. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I am a consummate professional.
You are a consummate something. Why don't we get into
A professional consumer.
our our thoughts on Modern Horizons, because we've had a chance to play it a bit more, and I also had a chance to cover a whole GP worth of it last weekend in DC, as we mentioned. So now, I'm feeling much more comfortable with the format as far as actually playing it rather than just the theorizing about what the archetypes look like. I actually wanted to start with the red white slivers deck because we mentioned it before.
Sure.
Not in love with it, to be honest.
No.
But the thing that I did want to mention about it that became pretty apparent, I actually was talking to Adam about this, and that's that it doesn't have to be all in aggro, right? There's these decks that you can build, and a lot of times I think that your natural inclination, if you've played Limited before, is to say, well, red-white, I'm the aggressor, right? I'm curving out, I'm attacking for damage, and once that stops happening, I'm in big trouble. That is not the case necessarily. It's actually kind of cool because the Slivers deck will give you those curve outs occasionally, and then it's great, and you just do that. But the times when it doesn't actually rewards patience a lot, where you can build up a board of slivers and try to get, again, I mentioned it before, but that combo, the +2/+0 to all your slivers in the first strike. Thank you. Cleaving sliver and first strike sliver.
So like Lancer sliver?
Okay. I believe you. Should I look? Lancer sliver. Sick read. You get that combo up, and then you can all of a sudden get great attacks in on your opponent. It's almost impossible for them to
I lost
block.
a long game to someone who had Hollowhead sliver. Mm-hmm. All your slivers have tap, discard a card, draw a card.
Yeah, the rummage one.
Because they just basically never played a 6 land and just looted until they just overran me. And then they have like irregular cohort, 2 white, 2/2 changeling makes another 2/2 changeling. They're both slivers.
Yep.
All of a sudden they
4/2 first strikers or 4/2, whatever.
And then there's the red, white, gold sliver that whenever, like piercing sliver or something, I don't remember the name, where whenever a sliver enters the battlefield, it drains the opponent for 1.
Yep, it drains the opponent for 1. There's also the rare one that's red, white, and it gives all your slivers flying.
That's the flying one. That's what
I flying in haste. And, this came up actually for Adam as well, because I told him to make sure to include 1 copy of Shelter. We were kind of tweaking the deck, and he was really proud of himself. And I actually was really happy for him too, because he took the discussion that we had and employed it in that he could have actually just played out that hasty flying sliver, and he instead waited until he turned 4 mana so that he could leave up shelter for it. And he did. His opponent had a removal spell. He sheltered to save it, and then every sliver he had from that was like death in the air.
Yeah, that's just good.
Right. And on a normal red-white deck, it doesn't feel correct to be like, well, I'm just going to hold on my 2-drop here so I can protect it later. It's like, it doesn't usually play out that way. Anyway, that's all I really had for that deck. It's actually a fairly straightforward one. Where do you want to start for decks that you've enjoyed?
I guess I'll start with the blue-green snow deck. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting because where you take the snow lands is a little tricky.
Yeah.
Islands and forests tend to be higher priority, though often you want to pick up like snow of the cards you're splashing. Like on Thin Ice, for example, is rare, but white enchantment, enchant a snow land, exile a creature, right? As long as this is in play. What you want to be able to do is like tutor up that white snow land and then cast on Thin Ice so that you're fixing both your snow count and your white sources. The best green common, I think, for multiple different archetypes is Springbloom Dryad. It's 2 and a green for a 1/1 and enter the battlefield.
Is it Druid or Dryad?
Druid, sorry. Enter the battlefield, sack a land, and get 2 basic lands.
That card has way overperformed for me.
Harrow was always a good card.
Yeah.
And this is Harrow with a 1/1 attached.
Yeah, and tap lands, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it's just huge.
Yeah.
So it helps ramp, right? On turn 3, you go up to 4 lands. It helps fix. It goes and gets 2 snow lands.
That's the key.
It puts a land in your graveyard for the red-green deck.
Yes.
It kind of does it all for all the decks.
It really is. We talked about this, Ryan and I did, when we did the set review, talking about pivot cards, right? These cards that are sort of the intersection between multiple archetypes. Right. And somehow the Druid is like 3 archetypes want that card.
That's part of the reason it's the best green common.
Okay.
Is that you can start with it and then see where you're going from there.
Yeah.
You can end up, 5-color snow or blue-green X snow. You can end up red-green lands in the graveyard, which I think is a very good archetype as well.
Yes, I agree.
You can end up pretty much anywhere you want to be.
Yeah.
And it helps like in the black-green, like kind of dredged graveyard-ish deck.
Card has been super impressive.
Basically what this deck, the snow deck is built on higher rarity cards to a degree, like Abominable Treefolk, the 2 blue-green XX, that enters the battlefield and unlocks something down.
And has trample.
Yes, it has trample.
Stupid.
Which I didn't realize the first time I played against it.
Yeah, your opponent did.
Yeah. And then you have like the Ice Fang Quaddles as a rare. You have various like snow paths, the Strix, not Baleful Strix, the Blizzard
the 3/2
Strix.
Blizzard Strix.
4 and a blue, 3/2 Flying Flash, and then if you have any other snow permanents, it ETBs and blinks something.
Yeah, and it's
including
anything.
your opponent's stuff, including their land. I killed an on thin ice once by blinking the land.
Totally, that happened.
Like Blizzard Strix is just one of the best uncommons.
It is amazing
and
what you can do
huge reason
with
to be
it.
snow. And then Arcum's Astrolabe is the 1 snow uncommon that Prophetic Prism, 1 tap at mana of any color.
Yeah. And then it's great because you get these payoffs, right? Like that nobody else wants, like the Astrolabe, whatever. But like even like Conifer Worm is a card that can easily end a game.
Oh yeah, that's the 4/4 trample that gives +X/+X or X equals the number of snow permanents you have by just paying some mana.
Yeah, you pay 4 mana for that, and nobody wants it. It's like the snow deck wants it, and nobody else does. And you can do absurd things. Of course, Glacial Revelation is a card as well that if you're committed enough to the snow deck, that's 2 and a green. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You can take any snow cards from those and put them in your hand. And it is, if you're dedicated snow, that card is completely insane. I did not realize the upper limits of it until I started playing the format, and my opponent played it against me a few times, with like a legitimate snow deck, and I was like, "This is." They hit 5 and 4.
Yeah, that's pretty lucky.
I mean, it was lucky, but like after having played out the game, I'm like, that's normal. Like all their cards, like, admittedly, they had a completely jokey.
I would say in general, like if you get like 2 or 3, you're doing great.
Yeah, you're doing great.
So the advantages to being snow is at common you have like Winter's Rest. As a good removal spell. You have like Chiller Pillar. Spring Bloom Dryad or Druid is not exactly a snow thing because everyone wants it, but it is very good in the deck.
If you get it.
And then you have some really, really meaty uncommons, like you said. You have Blizzard Strix, you have Conifer Worm, you have cards like Abominable Tree Folk. So, and this deck can kind of naturally, because of the Astrolabe, because of the Spring Bloom Druid that it's already looking at, it can play a lot of payoffs from other colors, and that you get them artificially late. Like on Thin Ice, you can get 5th pick because it might be that the 2 people playing white that see it are just not snow decks. They're red-white slivers or blue-white beatdown, and they're just like, yeah, I don't have any snow cards, so whatever.
So pass it along, and you can get a premium removal spell like that.
And this deck's pretty flexible, too, because it's not all in. You don't need 10 snow lands. I would say you need like 4 to 6, depending on how many ways you have to search them up.
How many druids you get. Yeah, that's the key.
And if you want to play something like Astrolabe, you'd rather have like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
But you end up in a spot where like, maybe you only have 2 to 3 snow payoffs, but you also weren't third picking the lands. You're trying to wheel the lands, which you can do, or take them like 6 pick out of empty packs.
Yeah. The interesting thing to me is the dynamic on when do you start taking those lands. Because, boy, I'll tell you what, if you commit early and take a bunch of them in the first pack, you can kind of dry up your neighbors to snow stuff and then just and if you can flex on them hard enough so they're like, well, somebody else is in snow, I'm out of this. You get 2 packs worth of anything you want because the snowlands, nobody else wants them. Yeah. I did want to talk about 2 commons that I've been impressed by. Rhyme Tender is good. That card.
It's a snow Llanowar Elf, or 2 mana 2/2 tap to untap any snow permanent.
Yeah.
Again, it's a free Llanowar Elf that no one else wants. Or
exactly.
A free Devoted Druid,
and so that's good.
Druid of the Cow.
And then another card that's overperformed for me is Iceberg Cancrix. Yeah, that's the 1 in a blue 0/4, and whenever a snow permanent enters the battlefield and under your control, you mill your opponent for 2.
I have not actually found that one to be great.
Man, you can turbo mill people out with it. I didn't realize how, like, the reason that this comes up is if you end up as one of the 1 or 2 players at the table in snow, but you don't end up with like the Abominable Tree Folks or like the premium payoffs, the uncommons that we said, and you have to run, 1 to 3 Iceberg Cancrixes, it absolutely can get the job done. Obviously, it shines the best against slow decks or other mid-range decks. But the thing is that you don't understand when you first play it is like you can get 2 of them down and play 2 to 3 snow permanents, and it's just like bleh, their library is just like flooding away.
You also basically get them for free.
Yes, and you get them for free. The key here, I think, is the fact that they trigger off of snowlands, which are basically no cost to you. You're not just jamming anything, but on top of it, are there any snow permanents that are unplayable?
I don't really think so.
I think the Cancrix is like the worst.
The closest one,
right? And like And also, it's a snow permanent. When you play the second Cancrix, you mill 2. Then you play a land, you mill 4. It's like it actually adds up really, really fast.
Oh, I love the Frostwalla too.
Oh, Frostwall is decent. Yeah. Dude, I read Frostwall like the first week that you could just pump it as many times.
It's a root wall, though. Those only pump once.
I know.
There's like 10 root walls.
It was a major mistake on my part.
Embarrassing.
Yes, it was really bad. But it is still like a 4/4 for 3, which is pretty good.
One card that I think is overrated, just while we're talking about green cards, is Mother Bear.
You think it's overrated?
I have not found it to be fantastic. It's fine.
I rate it lower than most, but I still have it as quite good.
It's playable.
Okay.
I just don't think it's great.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I love Savage Swipe.
Yeah, Savage Swipe has been definitely
This
underrated.
is the fight card, but if you target a creature that's power 2, exactly, it gets +2/+2.
Yeah.
So it just becomes very efficient.
Yeah, that's an incredible card if you do have those 2-powered creatures around. The thing about the Snow deck that I know now that I didn't know when we did the show before was that it's almost never 2 colors and it's up to 5.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
often 4.
The
Like I would say
Astrolabe
average 4.
and Springbloom Dryad. Prismatic Vista is a rare, but it's also worth high picking.
Which one is that?
It's the Evolving Wilds.
Oh, sure. Prismatic Vista. I don't think I've played it.
Yeah, I've just had 2 separate drafts where I saw it and I took it like 3rd and 4th pick.
Oh, really?
It gets any color, it's untapped, and it gets your snowlands.
That's great.
So I've just been very impressed with it.
Yeah, and that is exactly the type of effect that you want in those decks because the snow stuff gets to flowing, but a lot of the power comes from the fact that you can take multicolored cards late if you pick up the fixing.
So another deck which I've found is very good and it leads to some of the biggest blowout games is the Blue Black Ninjas deck.
Totally. Do you think the Blue Black Ninjas deck is the best deck? Because I currently have it number 1, but I'm biased.
I don't know that it's the best deck. I don't know. I'm not that confident that it's just the best, but it is the deck when you have a good version of it. It feels like there's some decks that can never beat you. There's decks that are just not fast enough and they don't interact enough, and they're just going to be like, well, I'm going to play some creatures, and you're like, I'm going to attack you with the Changing Outcast and ninja in these powerful ninjas, and you're going to lose.
And you're going to lose. You're going to outright lose the game. Yeah.
The Ninjas deck is a pretty easy example of an A+B deck where you want inputs, which is Changing Outcast, Fairy Seer.
The Slug.
Yeah, the Slug is great. The O3 Menace.
Never gets blocked.
And you have those inputs, and then you have outputs, ninjas.
Yep.
Like
any of them. The 6/3 one is disappointing, although it does actually hit quite hard.
Yeah, I don't like the 6/3 one or Azra Smokeshaper, the 3/3 that gives something indestructible.
Yeah, that one's really mediocre. But so the ones in black aren't great.
No, the gold ones are obscene.
They're disgusting, especially the Fallen Shinobi.
The one that Mind Desires them for 2. That's just yeah. That one's just stupid. That one's like literally one of the best cards in the set.
That card is, and it's also 5 power. Like it's just the dumbest card.
But Moonblade Shinobi is like the blue common, right? That's the Ninjutsu 3 that when it hits 3/2, when it hits them, make a 1/1
Flying Illusion
flyer.
I like that card a lot.
And part of the reason I like that card so much is that Smoke Shroud is so good with it.
Yes,
so
really,
Smoke Shroud
really
is the
good.
aura for 1 and a blue that gives a creature +1/+1 and flying. But then when a ninja enters the battlefield, you can attach Smoke Shroud from your graveyard to that ninja. So what happens is you like Smoke Shroud something, you attack with it. Now it's hard to block because it's flying. You ninjutsu, put in a Mistblade Shinobi and not Mistblade Shinobi, Moonblade Shinobi. Mistblade Shinobi is one of the original ninjas. And then the Smoke Shroud comes back, and now you have a 4/3 flying that every time it hits them makes a 1/1 flyer.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's really hard to beat. And yes, they can still use removal on that, but then the Smoke Shroud comes back when you play a different ninja.
Right.
And you have, a fair amount of ninjas in your deck. The rare ones are obscene, like you said, both the like Miss Syndicate Naga that cloned itself and the Fallen Shinobi, but the Ingenious Infiltrator, the blue-black one that says whenever one of your ninjas hits them, draw a card.
That's the uncommon, right?
Yeah, it's just a signpost uncommon that works well with like Changeling Outcast because that's a ninja, works well with your Phantom Ninja, the 2/2 unblockable.
It is really dumb with Outcast because you play that on 1, then you ninja in on 2, then you replay it the next turn, and now it's going to start hitting again. It's really silly.
And like Ninjas being is like one of those classic tempo decks where it makes a lot of kind of like crappy cards like Choking Tether, or not that Choking Tethers is crappy, but short-term cards like Choking Tethers, Mana War.
Don't say it. I knew you were going to say it. Mana War, best blue common.
Yeah, easily.
Best common?
I would probably take Springbloom Dryad over Mana War, pick one, pack one. It enables.
I just like that we're talking about it number 1 or number 2.
But it makes a lot of these cards just blowouts. Yes. Even String of Disappearances, bounce your thing. Like, you're able, because your ninjas often give you a material advantage every time you hit, you're able to throw away cards to get them through and profit.
Yes. By the way, if anybody ever wants to know what it is that I like about playing Magic, play the Ninjas deck and do those things. That's what I like about playing Magic. Like, that's all I want to do. Bounce my Mana War back to my hand from Ninjutsu.
Yeah, I mean, that's just game.
It's just like put a bow on it.
Well, one of the cool things about this format, too, is that there's a lot of different decks that you can play if you have the, like, good uncommons. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, Soul Hoarder, the blue-white uncommon. 1 blue-white for a 1/1. Whenever a creature is exiled from the battlefield, which includes both sides, by the way, put a +1/+1 counter on Soul Herder, and at the beginning of your end step, exile a creature you control, and then return it to the battlefield.
Yeah.
I mean, combine this with Mana War, they often just lose. There's actually a ton of cards that this combines nicely with, even at just common. Irregular Cohort makes a bunch of 2/2s.
Yep.
Mana War just bounces all their permanents. You're able to end up with like a 5/5 or 6/6 for 3 mana, even though you have to wait a few turns, and you're just getting value every single time something happens.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. It enables and also grows. It's like
Pondering
it gives you
Mage
both.
at common.
Like if you would have told me it's just a 1/1 and it blinks something every turn, I would have been like, okay, I get it. It's an enabler, but it's fragile. And instead, it just becomes huge at some point and beats them down anyway. That card is really, really great. The Blizzard Strix is another target for it. It's anything with an ETB ability can just go off. Yeah, that deck's strong too. I like it.
Yeah, it's just like a classic blue-white skies kind of tempo-ish based deck, and then Soul Herder is really what takes it over the top.
Yeah.
And that one's pretty straightforward as well. One of the decks I've also liked is the red-green lands deck.
The payoffs are legit, and it actually isn't that hard to get a land in the graveyard.
So you have payoffs like Igneous Elemental, which is a 4 red for a 4/3, and when it enters the battlefield, deals 2 to a creature, but it costs 2 less if you have a land in your graveyard. So perfect follow-up to Springbloom Druid. You have like the Marasa Behemoth. This is the like 6 mana 5/5 trample that gets +3/+3 if you have land in your graveyard. You have the Anured, the 5 mana 4/4. When it ETBs, you can sack a land to draw a card. And if you have Threshold, it's ++1 in Vigilance.
Vigilance, yeah.
And you have like the Magmatic Sinkhole, which is
the Delve.
The 5 in a red Delve, deal 5 to a creature or planeswalker at instant speed.
Yeah. That card's probably, I think like that or Mob are the 2 common removal spells that come to mind as the premium.
Settle from Reality is very good too.
It is. You always get a lot of good value out of that card.
That's the white one that exiles either one of your creatures and has it come back, or sorry, any creature has it come back, or exile a creature forever, or both.
Yeah, or both, yeah. And doing it to one of your value creatures can be a really big blowout. Especially, I've noticed that, by the way, that the enchantment-based removal suffers a bit from that card existing because every copy.
Yeah, you
of
just
that
pick it
gets
up for
played.
free sometimes.
Exactly.
And then like for red green, you have like uncommons like the Ruination Rider, which is red green for a 2/2, and then when it dies, deals 1 to any target for each land in your graveyard.
Mm-hmm. I find it's hard to dump that many lands in. It's usually I like the cards that benefit me for 1.
Yeah, the Threshold 1 cards are quite good. Yeah. But then you have cards like Lava Dart that puts a land in your graveyard, for example.
Yep. Mm-hmm. At instant speed.
One of the cards I really like is Winding Way.
Oh man, that card's been great.
It's 1 in a green sorcery. Choose creature or land, reveal the top 4 cards in your deck, put all of the chosen type in your hand, and the rest in the graveyard. I didn't realize it until the first time I cast it, which was on Magic Online. I thought it was just choose 1.
Yeah.
I cast it and got 3 creatures.
That's insane.
And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And because I thought the card was good enough already.
Yeah.
And it's great because you can just dump land in your graveyard with it too.
It does. And the cool part is that it kind of grows with you, right? Because if you cast it on turn 2 and you need lands, it helps you get to that point. But if you top deck it late, obviously a card that would get you more lands is exactly what you don't want. And it does the opposite for you, gets you action.
Yeah. And I've also found that the red-green deck can end up splashing sometimes too.
Yes.
Any green deck has a capability
can splash.
Of doing
yeah,
so.
the blue-green deck is the deck that does it the most because of the Arkham's Astrolabe. But
I've been liking the black-green deck if you get enough removal.
So I want to have a chat with you about that because I want to know where you're at on Rot Widow Pack.
I love Rot Widow.
Okay, I do too. So Ben and I were calling it the Mythic Uncommon.
It's so good. It says 2 black-green for a 2/4 reach. So 4 mana, 2/4 reach is fine, not like special, but you can pay 5 mana, 3 black green, exile a creature from your graveyard, make a 1/2 green spider with reach, and not drain, your opponent loses 1 life for each spider you control, which starts at 2 and just scales up from there.
Yeah, I
2,
find
3,
this card
4,
to
5.
be incredible. A great late game win condition, and it plays perfectly into its own game plan by providing you with high toughness blockers repeatedly. I've heard some of the pros talk about it and say they thought it was too slow. And
I don't think that.
I don't think so either. I think it's hard to like conceptualize until you play it about how much damage adds up. The game ends actually very quickly.
You do it 3 times and they've already taken 9 damage.
Right. It's like you think like, okay, I did 2. It's like, yeah, you did 2, but then the next one is 3. That's 5.
And then it starts pressuring them to try to kill you, which gives you opportunities to jump block. And the 1/2 spiders that it makes are very good at keeping you alive.
They're very good.
So I think Rot Widow Pack's excellent. My favorite version of this deck, which is
what is this deck though? Because I'll be honest with you, I've only splashed Rot Widow Pack. I don't even know if I've drafted Green.
Winding Way, and you have uncommons like the Gravedigger or Webweaver Changeling. Value creatures like Twin Silk Spider and Wall of Blossoms, black removal. And there's also a black, like the black Raise Dead or Raise Dead 2 creatures of the same type is awesome in the deck because you can get a Changeling plus any creature back.
Yep. Everybody always gets back the
last time. I am biased because the last time I drafted this deck, I had Hogak, the rare.
You did?
And Altar of Dementia.
Oh, sick.
I had both. So I had the whole modern deck, but you still have like...
That's awesome.
You still have like Ransack the Lab, which is the 1 in a black, look at the top 3, put 1 in your hand, the other 2 in the graveyard. Like this actually gives you the tools to fill your graveyard and a lot of ways to take advantage of things going to
your graveyard. You Hogak'd people?
Oh, yeah. I did punt really badly one game, though.
What did you do?
I just got the math wrong, and I started down a path to try to mill them out.
Oh.
Like sack Hogak to mill myself, bring it back, mill them, but I just ended up a couple cards short.
Oh,
it was stupid.
Hey, just as an aside, I've heard a lot of the online about people saying that they thought Hogak was going to be busted in Modern. Is that true?
I believe very strongly it will not be legal by the time the Mythic Championship rolls around in Barcelona. So,
all right, that answers that question quite nicely. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is a deck, like I said, that I haven't really played. Like, I know the cards you're talking about, but for whatever reason, I never end up in that particular color pair. Am I punting? Is it good?
I think it's okay. I just think the last time I drafted it, I kind of got lucky. But I have played against a couple. Like, this deck can often be like Sultai as well, because you have Rain of Revelation.
Oh, sure.
3 in a blue, draw 3, discard a card. And between like the Twin Silk Spiders, the Webweaver Changeling, the Rot Widow Pack, it has some pretty good defense. You have Mob, you have Defile. So if you can just kind of sit there and do some things, fill up your graveyard, you can end up in a pretty good spot.
It's funny. One of the very first drafts I did, it was in real life, and I opened an Altar of Dementia or got past it or something. I remember this card from when I used to like own a pile of Magic cards.
Tempest.
Yeah, I don't like to say I used to play because I mainly just made bad decks and didn't ever play them. Yeah. I never played a tournament or never knew the rules really. But anyway, from back in the day, and I took it, and I'm like, I want to, like, this could be an alternate win condition. I might be able to make this work. And I played it in a deck that didn't really look like it belonged. It was good. I was able to craft my game plan around it when necessary, even if it was a little bit off theme. Like the deck kind of was a mid-range, but kind of tended to beat down a little bit more. Did I get lucky? Is it good? Like, it felt weird to put it in the deck, but then when I played it, I'm like, this is actually kind of good.
No, I think the card can be good in a long game deck. Okay. Like if you're stalling the opponent out, like sometimes you just end up in a spot where they have fewer cards in their deck than the power of creatures you have in play. Mm-hmm. You do need to have a pretty long game deck for that to be the case. Though I really like it in the black green deck.
Yeah, best play by the way was goat napping. By the way, I had multiple goat naps with this, and then 2 of the Dragonheart, the 2 and a red 2/2. So that was also going on.
Yeah, I do like that combo.
But yeah, I goat napped a Changeling.
Oh yeah, there you go. Also them for a bunch.
Yeah, I got all of it. Also, I meant to ask you this. I actually wanted to ask you at the moment. So the Changeling I goat napped, it had like the one equipment in the set in it.
Yeah, Amorphous Axe.
Was that supposed to fall off when I goat napped it?
No.
It stays on, right? Yeah. They control the equipment.
They can re-equip it to their own other creature, but you can take it.
Because I milled them for 9. So
no, I mean, did it. No, that is how it works.
Okay, cool. I thought it was, but then I thought, wait a minute, does it not stay on it, or is there something weird about controlling things? Anyway, it was.
Well, no, it's weird because I remember this would come up like when swords and stuff were getting played in Standard, and like you had to be careful because if you hit them with a creature that had Sword of Feast and Famine on it, you would discard a card and they would untap their lands because it's still their sword.
Oh, that is amazing. I do remember that too. That is funny. Anyway. All right. Well, I feel better about playing Ultra Dementia. Although, like I said, I did augment it
Yeah.
by playing those sacrifice or those steal your guy effects as well. Red Blue.
So red blue can tend to be pretty aggressive.
Yeah, but it's classic Red Blue aggressive. Where like if you look at their life pad, it's like 20, and then maybe like 18, and then it's like 9. You know, it's like wait, what happened there?
It has the Dragon Heart that you mentioned.
Yeah.
It has Fists of Flame.
Yeah.
It has the double striking Minotaur.
Yeah, of course.
It has like Eye Bite or whatever the Eye Bite Drake or whatever.
Eye Kite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 1/2 that gets +2/+0 if you draw a second card this turn.
And it has flying.
Yeah, with fire.
So that one's pretty good too.
This deck can also play ninjas. I've seen
Yes,
red blue
absolutely
take advantage of the blue ninjas pretty nicely.
Yeah, totally. And then the Thundering Djinn is their gold
one of my
uncommon.
votes for worst flavor text of all time.
I didn't even look at the flavor text.
All right, well I'll let you see if you can figure out the joke.
All right, I'm going to look it up. Thundering Djinn. It strikes like a bolt from a brainstorm. I don't get it.
When it attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of cards you've drawn, right?
Yeah.
So it strikes like a bolt, like a lightning bolt, from a brainstorm. Because a brainstorm
so it's like self-referential to those 2 magic cards?
It's just and it's not like...
It's pretty on the nose.
Yeah, it's just really on the nose.
Yeah, that's a bit much, perhaps. But the
You
card's
get it?
excellent.
It's a brainstorm and a lightning bolt.
But it does do that, by the way.
Yes.
It does hit. If the flavor text said it hits freaking hard, it would also be accurate. That card is very, very powerful. It's the type of card that you cast it. If you get to untap with it, it's going to do big damage. It's a 3 blue, red, 3/4 flyer. Whenever it attacks, it deals damage to any target equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. One of the combos that we mentioned earlier, but I wanted to hit on, was what is that stupid Minotaur called? I always forget its name. Anyway, it's 2/3, and if you draw an extra card, it gets double strike until end of turn. But one of the simplest combos that you can do, you see it all the time, is cycling choking tethers. Cycling the Aven, the wind, whatever Aven, the 4/3
the 4/3 flyer.
Yeah, and when you cycle it, you draw a card, so that triggers that if it's on your turn because you've drawn a card for the turn, and then it also gives it flying. And now you've got a 2-powered double striker, and that is where things can get really ugly, going back to Fists of Flame that we mentioned before, because then you play Fists of Flames, you draw a card, that's your 3rd card drawn for the turn after you've cycled the other one and done your draw step, and all of a sudden you're giving it +3, and the trample probably doesn't matter, but +3 makes it 5. That's 10 damage right there, thanks to double strike. And of course, if you can cycle a couple of other things in between. Another card that we talked about earlier, but I wanted to bring up again, is Choking Tethers. This is the deck for it on so many different levels. The cycling matters, but I have absolutely stolen games by just end step. You know, my opponent is fully stabilized and they're feeling good about life, and it's like end step, cast Choking Tethers.
Yep, for 4.
And just tap down your whole entire team, and they're like, oh my God, like, you know, I had it, right? I had, you know, all these spiders and all these things, and you can just steal games with it. But like I said, it does end up being like that. The Bogarden Dragonheart also goes fine in this deck too. You can get rid of things that aren't quite as important anymore. It's the 2 and a red 2/2, sacrifice another creature. Until end of turn, it becomes a 4/4 flyer with haste, by the way, and that comes up a lot. When one of your creatures on the ground is just not able to attack or block profitably, and you top deck a Dragonheart, it's 4 in the air right now. It's a lot of damage.
I have both lost to this card and won with this card a disproportionate number of times where it just does the last 8 to 12 damage.
Yes, and it's really, really powerful.
The first 4 are really easy to get. The second 4 pretty easy to get.
Yeah. The haste factor is just, they just can't really, get ready for that. Have you played much red, black, goblin / tokens?
Goblins once when I was able to get 2 munitions experts.
Yeah, that card's great. That's
the card's fantastic.
Red, black, 1/1 flash goblin.
Yeah, you have like Putrid Goblin, you have like a Goblin Champion, various dorky goblins.
Yeah, the goblin, is it War Party?
Yeah, the 3 and a red make 3 goblins, and if
card's
you kick
really
it,
powerful.
Yeah, that you get all +1/+1 haste. Yeah, that card is really good.
And oftentimes in those type of decks, if you kick it, you win the game.
Yeah.
Now it does cost 7 mana to kick, but I'll tell you what, those type of aggressive decks are the ones that tend to run out of gas. Oh, did we mention Krosan Tusker before, by the way?
No, but it's just a good part of all the multicolored green decks.
Yeah, I think we should have mentioned that one too with the other decks that we liked for the other one. Any other archetypes that are jumping out to you here? Those are the ones that I've played the most, I believe.
Yeah, I have never drafted black white. Don't really know.
I haven't either, but we did get that on camera a lot. So that's the changeling archetype. It's the one that cares about creature types, because almost all the changelings are in either black or white. And then there's payoffs for it as well. I would call it a middle of the road deck. It's fine, but it's kind of like what you see is what you get. The uncommon for it's called Etchings of the Chosen. It's 1 black-white for an enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. And then, you usually just pick the one that's in your hand or the one non-changeling you have, and everything else just benefits from it. Those creatures get +1/+1, and then you can pay a mana and sacrifice a creature of the chosen type to give target creature you control indestructible until end of turn. That doesn't come up as much, but, it's a good anthem effect that we call it, and you can build your deck so that you have most creature types. Then, of course, cards like Slivers come into play quite a bit. But again, the payoffs aren't amazing. Like if you're literally just black-white, you're getting like an Enduring Sliver or something so you can start outlasting. Okay, fine. Like I'll take it, but this isn't exactly a big blowout. Activated. Yeah, the one that's really good is the, I think it's called the First Sliver's Chosen or something like that. The one that gives them all Exalted.
Yeah, that card's good.
Yeah, and that card is a legit payoff.
Basically, how it seems to me is like this is similar to a Master set in that like it's got some linear archetypes. Each 2-color pair has something going on, and it's more complicated than a normal set. Mm-hmm. But it's a little more flexible than some of the Master set where there's changelings naturally do this because those by definition tend to fit in multiple places. Mm-hmm. The Springbloom Druid helps, Crows and Tusker, I guess, that we should have mentioned also helps kind of tie things together also. You just have a lot of cards that can go in multiple decks in those colors. And each deck is kind of doing their own thing, but there's a lot of cards that overlap, which I actually like this kind of format a lot.
Speaking in broad strokes, Ben Stark, we did the commentary for the GP and DC. He said he thinks that this is the most complicated limited set that's been released.
Huh. Yeah. There's a lot of
Can you put anything up against it? Time Spiral block or something?
Time Spiral's pretty complicated.
Yeah. That had about 40 different mechanics. This one has 45.
Well, that was in Future Sight, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Future Sight. That's
Future Sight specifically was the one that had all the mechanics. Time Spiral itself was also very complicated.
Okay, yeah. I think he's right. I mean, unless you start going to Cube.
Like, it's funny where you can understand what is happening with the archetypes and be comfortable with those, but I think where a lot of the complexity comes in is like if you've got 2 cards that care about lands in your graveyard, all of a sudden that Lava Dart just gets like a little bit more enticing. You have a lot of very small synergies, and in order to maximize your value, you have to pay attention to all of them.
Yeah, and that was kind of a rule I made for myself for the first couple of drafts is that I just read every card again, because they also did something strange where they put mechanics that we've only seen a few times onto cards that we wouldn't normally see. Like the card that stands out is that Watcher. I forgot its name again, but it's the 2/1 for 2 Watcher for Tomorrow.
Oh, the Hideaway one.
Yeah, it has Hideaway. And
which is like not even really a mechanic.
Right. When I think of Hideaway, there's that cycle of lands.
Shelldock Isle.
Yeah, like Shelldock Isle. And those had certain attributes to them that I didn't know were attributable to Hideaway, specifically that they came into play tapped.
They basically weren't. It just feels like it's just made up.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Because this creature enters the battlefield tapped. Because it has Hideaway.
Yes.
It's like, what? It's like they sort of just rip that text off the land and we're like, well, if we put it on a creature.
Here we go.
Yeah. And it works, right? I mean, it does what it's trying to do, but it's a little bit weird. But yeah, and so I just was like, what does this do again exactly? And that served me well because I know all these mechanics. I've played with all of these before, but throwing them all together in one set is like, again, some of the cards care about having 1 land in the graveyard and then everything's turned on. And then there's the Annuary that's like randomly Threshold, like actual Threshold, which is a mechanic I've played with here and there, but I wasn't playing when that was like an actual thing. Yeah. So I'm not as used to it. Is Hex Drinker the best card in the set?
I believe so. Because it just wins the game so quickly. The Sword of Truth and Justice is also pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah, and colorless and all that. It's, by the way, people were right. The swords, especially the black-red one, but even the Truth and Justice one, are not nearly on par with what we expected before from the swords.
The swords are just a big step back from ridiculous, like Sword of Fire and Ice logos.
Yeah, which was nonsense, but yeah. This format remains relevant. I don't know how long our listeners are going to be able to keep drafting it because A, it's expensive, and B, they're probably just going to run out of product at some point.
Well, it's on Magic Online for like another month.
Yeah, we get it on Magic Online, so people that are still there can draft it. But my assumption is that most of our people are either live or on.
Yeah, my guess is this will be our final Modern Horizons episode.
It is funny though because if you are a big fan of the format, the Mythic Championship 4, which is in Barcelona, the tabletop one, this is the limited format for it. I guess they just didn't want to use M20.
I'm not complaining. I love this format.
Me too.
And I'm looking forward to playing it.
Yeah.
So I would also recommend it. Like if you have access to play Modern Horizons, it is a very fun format. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. And one of the shortcuts for drilling into a complicated format when you know you're not going to draft it a bunch, you're not going to learn the whole format, just like pick one of the more straightforward archetypes. Like Blue Black Ninjas is not that complicated. Mm-hmm. Like draft things that have good evasion and draft some ninjas.
Yeah.
Red, white, silvers is the same. Like it's not. You can get yourself through one of these drafts without having to learn every single trick. It's getting the last 10 to 20% that's really hard.
That's right. All right. Well, let's call it a show there. I do want to say I also recommend drafting it if you get the chance. It's a great set. First things first, the show is brought to you by channelfireball.com. Don't forget, we know how expensive Magic is. This is a lifestyle hobby, right? This is a game that we all love, but it is not cheap to play. And one of the ways that you can help mitigate that cost is by selling your cards back to channelfireball.com. And one of the really great things is that if you trade them in for store credit, they'll give you a 30% bonus. So if you were going to spend that money on Magic cards anyway, get the 30%. Don't get the cash and then change your mind later and go buy some singles from CFB. Get that 30% locked up into your store credit account. And then what happens is when a box comes out and you want to get a draft together with your friends, or if you need a single for a deck, you'll have it in there and you'll have secured that value. Everybody has that pile of rares sitting around that they're not realistically going to use. Well, Channel Fireball can use them and you can sell them back to them. So go to CFB to the buy list there.
Channelfireball.com/buy list. Best place to start.
That's where you want to go. And of course, you can always check that out ahead of time. You can look up the price of your cards ahead of time to know, okay, I'm comfortable selling them for this, or I'm going to hold on to them. You'll know everything ahead of time. There's no hidden information or anything like that. So you can make the best decision for yourself. If you want to find us on social media, he is LSV. I am Marshall_LR. We're on there all the time. Come say hi.
I check Twitter maybe once or twice a day.
Yeah, once or twice in the last 5 minutes. And we're always happy to say hi and give your feedback and whatever else you want to say to us on there. You can find everything related to the show at lrcast.com. Links to Luis's stream, for example, and the social media and stuff that we mentioned before. And that's going to do it for this one. So thanks so much for listening. We'll be back with more next week. We'll see you then.
I just want to say that after being in Las Vegas for about 4 days, I have a greater appreciation for the listeners of the show, the people I deal with through Magic, the people I choose to surround myself with in my normal life, because dear Lord, are people results oriented. They just like, okay. So if you're not familiar with blackjack, you're trying to get to 21, right? You start with 2 cards and you can keep hitting, but if you go over 21, you bust. There's an accepted blackjack strategy. Like, there is just optimal blackjack.
Which is why I find it very boring. You can buy a little plastic card that tells you every play you're supposed to make, and it's just optimal, and that's it.
And so among those things is like, if the dealer's showing, a 7 or higher, and you have 12 through 16, you're supposed to hit. Mm-hmm. It's the highest EV play. Mm-hmm. And the dealer will even tell you. You can just ask the dealer. They will tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. The number of people who, I spent a little time at the tables, chasing my Mythic Championship losses here. And the number of people who are like, oh, I don't hit on 15 because I bust too often. Or, I even had a dealer say to the person like, oh yeah, I don't like hitting on 16 because at least you got a chance for them to bust.
Yeah.
Even
though it's been mathematically proven
that if they're showing a 7 or higher, they're most likely not going to have to hit. And you're more likely to hit, not bust, and beat them if you hit, as opposed to hoping they'd bust. And the number of people who will do the correct play, they hit on a 14, they then bust. Next hand, they have a 14. They're like, last time it didn't work. I'm going to try something different this time. Or I don't feel like that. And it's just like, it makes me think like these people like don't realize that what they're saying doesn't make any sense because it just makes perfect logical sense to them.
Yes, it does.
In the moment, they're just thinking like, last time I busted, that result was bad. Yeah. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
And I realized how much we take for granted when we talk to people in Magic. And look, I totally understand. The first time you learned about results-oriented thinking, you were probably like, wow, I did not think of it this way. Mm-hmm. How could I have not seen this? Mm-hmm. We all went through that.
Yeah.
It's not like you're born knowing how to do that.
That was a big awakening for me.
But once you learn it, it just becomes so clear that like once something has been mathematically proven, like what happened the last time you did the thing, the result of that is not an indictment of that underlying fact.
Yeah.
And just watching people just time and time again, like...
Oh, God. My favorite one for blackjack, which I don't play, but I like watching. I was watching you and Paul play, is when somebody makes a play that is against the book, like what you were saying, and then everybody beyond them now got, air quotes, different cards, even though it was from a randomized, shoe of 6 decks or whatever, and then they all complain because you shouldn't have hit that. I would have gotten this, and he would have gotten this.
Oh, I had that happen this weekend where, the person next to me doesn't hit on 16 because they don't want to bust, and then the next person hits and busts.
Correctly hits, but busts.
And busts. And then the next card that they saw was the 5 that would have given them. And they're like, you should have hit, you should have busted, I should have gotten the 5. And the guy gets up and tells his friend, I can't play at a table with this guy. Like, the way he's playing is just messing everything up.
Right.
And
even though it's a randomized deck. And it's like, obviously
yes,
there's
the
much
first person's playing incorrectly, but you're also being ridiculous because you're saying that they're going to make you less likely to win because they're playing differently. It could have happened the other way around. Yeah. They could have not hit and then you hit and gotten the 5.
Yeah, but you know what people never do? They never go, I'm so glad you did that. Yeah, thank you so much. They just sit there quietly and take their money.
You know what the other thing they do is? Okay, so it is true that counting cards is real, right? If you're skilled at it and you know the system, you can count cards, which basically is just keeping track of the high cards versus the low cards, and you change your bets based on that. Mm-hmm. What people will do is like they have 14 and they're like, man, I've seen a lot of 7s recently, I don't want to hit, or they're like, wow, the dealer's gotten pretty lucky. Like they've gotten a couple blackjacks, so now's a good time because they're coming for me.
Yeah, totally.
And it's just like they're playing with 8 decks in the shoe. Yeah, like totally. You seeing 2 7s just is meaningless.
Yeah, people also vastly overestimate the edge they get from counting. It is a legitimate edge. Like you can beat at that point. Also, it's worth
just
noting
making it so the house instead of being 51%, you're 51% or whatever.
Exactly, that's the thing. But it is worth noting that it is against the rules of the house to do so. It's not against the law. So the worst thing that can happen is they can say, if they notice you doing it, they can say, we don't want you to play. They can say,
for example, Mr. Stark, you're no longer allowed in our casino.
Which is true
of all the casinos.
Major casinos, yeah.
All right, that was a too long rant about how ridiculous people in Vegas are. But all I'm saying is if you're a listener to this show, you're like many steps ahead of this kind of thinking. And I think that you should give yourself a little pat on the back for that.